Welcome, kindred spirits. Never underestimate the profound impact of the individual who held everything together until they chose to release their grip. Here's a truth that often goes unnoticed. Social dynamics research reveals that within every family circle of friends or workplace environment there exists an unspoken linchpin, the person whose very presence sustains the harmony, even if their efforts remain unacknowledged. Here's the stark reality. The instant this anchor departs, the once thriving functional entity can disintegrate with alarming speed. Chosen ones, whether you recognize it or not, you frequently embody that essential anchor. The disconcerting yet somewhat ironic truth is that people seldom grasp this fact until your absence becomes palpable. They operate under the illusion that all is well, that the system functions seamlessly. However, you were the lubricating oil in the machinery, the unseen engineer ensuring smooth operation. Upon your departure, the entire endeavor begins to resemble a discordant symphony. It's a darkly humorous paradox. You dedicate years to preventing chaos from engulfing those around you, and the moment you decide, I am stepping away, a chain reaction of unforeseen consequences unfolds. Friendships fracture, alliances dissolve into bitter rivalries, and those who once proclaimed their self-sufficiency find themselves adrift like children lost in a bustling marketplace. Today we delve into the reasons why your absence transcends a mere void. It generates a vacuum so intense that it draws hidden truths about individuals to the surface. And believe me, some of those truths they desperately wish to remain concealed. First, you functioned as the unsung architect providing structural integrity. They perceived the framework surrounding them as robust, judging solely by its exterior appearance. However, they remained unaware that you were the constant silent force maintaining its stability. You were not the figurehead, the loudest voice, or the most prominent presence. Rather, you were the stabilizer, the one who intervened to prevent crises, the one who preempted problems before they escalated into full-blown disasters. You executed these tasks with such effortless consistency that your efforts were mistaken for mere fortunate happenstance. In reality, the equilibrium they enjoyed was not coincidental. It was meticulously crafted through your unwavering dedication. You detected subtle tensions that others disregarded, bridged divides between individuals who were at odds, and smoothed over imperfections to enable the group to function without confronting its inherent flaws. You performed these actions discreetly, not seeking recognition but simply ensuring cohesion. The truth is, you were the uncompensated architect of their stability, designing the invisible framework of their operations even if you were not formally in charge. Like any structure, once the architect departs, concealed deficiencies begin to surface. Cracks appear in the walls. Floors become uneven and the foundations weaken. Accusations begin to fly, but the reality is that they never acquired the skills to maintain the edifice without your guidance. When you vanish, the absence extends beyond the physical. It permeates the operational. Suddenly, previously calm discussions devolve into heated arguments. Projects that were once completed efficiently now stagnate. Individuals who formerly collaborated now engage in competition or withdraw entirely. What they termed teamwork or camaraderie was in fact your skillful management of the subtle nuances that maintained harmony. And here's the candid truth they resist acknowledging. They underestimated your value because they failed to observe the work you performed. They assumed that cohesion was inherent, not the result of a dedicated individual working tirelessly behind the scenes. That's precisely why your absence creates such a palpable void. They struggle to articulate the specific element that is missing, yet its absence pervades every aspect of their interactions. They then realize that you were not merely a replaceable component of the system. You were the system itself. And now, lacking its architect, the entire structure begins to crumble under its own weight. Second, they failed to recognize your role as the discrete regulator of chaos. You were more than just another member of the group. You were the silent force managing turbulent situations. You possessed the ability to diffuse tensions before they spiraled, redirect negative energy before it poisoned the atmosphere, and subtly steer conversations away from contentious topics. Most individuals were unaware of your interventions, which was precisely the intention. Your skill lay not in dramatically extinguishing fires, but in preventing sparks from igniting in the first place. When you were present, conflict seemed less significant, disagreements were short-lived, and drama never fully consumed the environment. People attributed this to a naturally peaceful setting, but that was not the case. Without you, the truth quickly emerges. Everyone's abrasive qualities become amplified. Minor misunderstandings escalate, and situations that were once resolved amicably spiral out of control. The harmony they believed they possessed was not innate. It was a direct consequence of your unobtrusive interventions. You possessed the ability to perceive people's emotions even before they spoke. You could detect when someone was on the verge of losing their composure, or when pride was about to obstruct resolution. You intervened at precisely the right moment, not to assume control, but to subtly restore equilibrium. Because your actions were subtle, people assumed that things simply worked out organically. However, the reality is that without your influence, things do not resolve themselves. They disintegrate rapidly. Your absence immediately alters the atmosphere. Conversations turn into confrontations. Minor disagreements transform into deep-seated grudges. Individuals who once coexisted peacefully thanks to your presence now struggle to occupy the same space without friction. Your role was not about domination. It was about maintaining equilibrium. And balance is a quality that is only fully appreciated in its absence. The harsh truth is that most individuals are naturally reactive. They lack the skills to manage their emotions, communicate with patience, or compromise without feeling as though they have sacrificed something. You facilitated these abilities for them without their awareness. Now, without the regulator in place, every unhealed wound, every hidden rivalry, and every suppressed ego runs rampant. The chaos you once absorbed now has nowhere to dissipate, resulting in an explosion. Third, the cohesive element was not the group, but you. They believed their unity was strong and their bond unbreakable. However, the truth is that the glue binding them together was not the group itself. It was you. You were the connecting thread, the one who prevented relationships from fraying, who ensured that everyone had a reason to gather at the same table. Without your consistent presence, those invisible threads begin to snap one by one. and the relationships they perceived as strong suddenly feel distant, awkward, or contrived. You were the one who checked in on individuals without expecting reciprocity. You remembered important dates, smoothed over misunderstandings before they escalated into permanent divisions, and created opportunities for connection when others were too preoccupied or prideful to make the effort. The warmth and cohesion they experienced were not generated equally by all. They were fueled by your unwavering commitment. The reason the group appeared functional from an external perspective was that you were constantly patching the cracks. When someone drifted away, you drew them back in. When someone was distressed, you found a way to address it without causing defensiveness. You created an inclusive environment, even when others lacked the capacity to extend that inclusivity themselves. Because you operated discreetly, they assumed it was the natural course of the relationships. Your absence quickly exposes these underlying tensions. Individuals who harbored animosity toward one another now lack a reason to feign congeniality. Those who tolerated each other solely for your benefit no longer feel compelled to maintain the facade. Minor annoyances become justifications for severing contact altogether. The shared experiences that once sustained the bond become increasingly rare. What they believed to be mutual loyalty proves to be loyalty directed solely toward you. Without you, they realize that they lack a significant basis for their connection. It's not that you were forcing connections. You were maintaining them, and when the maintainer departs, neglect sets in. This is the most painful realization. They never recognized your importance to the group's survival until its disintegration commenced. Only then do they perceive that the glue was not invisible. It was you, and you are now gone. Fourth, you rendered the dysfunction tolerable. They were already accustomed to chaos, tension, and unspoken issues long before your arrival, but you somehow made it bearable. You did not eliminate the problems, nor did you create an idyllic state. But you absorbed the burden in a way that enabled others to persevere without feeling completely overwhelmed. You mediated disputes, absorbed frustrations, and translated emotional complexities into something they could manage. Your presence transformed what could have been a constant storm into a manageable drizzle. People did not understand the extent to which their comfort depended on your efforts, because you never made it obvious. You remained calm when tempers flared, mediated between conflicting personalities, and identified solutions that others lacked the patience or insight to discover. Your emotional labor was silent but essential. Without it, the dysfunction does not dissipate. It becomes fully visible, raw, and impossible to ignore. When you step away, the weight you carried does not vanish. Instead, it falls squarely upon those who relied on you unknowingly. Suddenly, minor irritations escalate into major conflicts. Old grudges that you managed to keep dormant erupt. Tasks that appeared simple become insurmountable because no one else acquired the skills to manage the environment as you did. The equilibrium you established disappears overnight, leaving people struggling to stay afloat in waters they thought were calm. The irony is that many never expressed gratitude or acknowledged your role. They took your labor for granted, assuming that it was natural for the chaos to be so manageable. Now, in your absence, they realize that nothing was truly natural. It was you sustaining the balance. This realization is not merely uncomfortable, it is alarming. The very individuals who thrived because of your unobtrusive efforts are now facing the dysfunction they have evaded for years, and they are utterly unprepared. You transformed the unbearable into the tolerable. You provided people with the space to function in an environment that would have otherwise broken them. Your departure provides a stark, undeniable lesson. The comfort they relied on was never their own. It belonged to you. Its loss delivers a reality check, forcing them to confront the truths they had been avoiding. Fifth, your absence reveals the delicate egos you shielded. For years, you diligently protected others from themselves. You intervened before they faltered, softened truths they were not prepared to confront, and delivered constructive criticism that facilitated growth without causing them to feel exposed. You did not seek accolades. You acted out of the understanding that many individuals struggle to navigate reality without a steadying presence. You became the buffer between the harshness of life and the fragile egos surrounding you. Your departure removes that crucial filter. Suddenly, every comment, every action, every glance feels amplified, distorted, and intensely personal. Actions that were once overlooked are now perceived as criticism, betrayal, or even aggression. Individuals who relied on your diplomatic skills to navigate their own insecurities are now left vulnerable and defenseless. Without your intervention, their self-perception is exposed and their reactions become unpredictable, defensive, and even hostile. It is astonishing to consider the amount of emotional labor you invested without recognition. You absorbed their vulnerabilities, translated reality into a palatable form, and managed tensions to prevent relationships from collapsing. Your absence does not merely remove support, it exposes previously invisible flaws. The delicate egos you protected begin to crumble under the weight of a reality they cannot process independently. Arguments ignite, resentment festers, and minor disagreements escalate into full-blown conflicts. Ironically, most individuals never acknowledged your pivotal role in their emotional well-being. They took your presence for granted, assuming the tranquility surrounding them was inherent and permanent. Your departure reveals the undeniable truth. You were the stabilizer, the translator, the one who prevented ego-driven chaos. Without you, the facade crumbles, forcing everyone to confront themselves without the softening lens you provided. Your absence serves as the ultimate revelation. It is the moment when individuals finally acknowledge not only their own weaknesses, but also the extent of their reliance on you to navigate them. The ensuing chaos is not accidental. It is a direct consequence of the disruption of the balance you maintained. They believed they were strong enough to stand alone, but the reality is that you were the silent guardian sustaining their stability. Sixth, you were the concealed energy source from which they drew. You possessed an inner strength that others leaned on, often unconsciously. It extended beyond your physical presence. It manifested in your unwavering determination during difficult times, your ability to find reasons to persevere when others were ready to concede defeat. Your optimism was not feigned. It was forged through hardship. Your persistence stemmed from depths that most people never needed to explore. Without fanfare, you became the battery that powered those around you. They constantly tapped into your energy. Your motivation inspired them to believe they could continue. Your joy, even when you had every reason to be jaded, reminded them that there was still worth in participating. Your vision provided a sense of direction when they felt lost. Because you made it appear effortless, they assumed that the fuel was inexhaustible and readily available. However, you were never intended to be their permanent power source. You were generating your own light amidst your own battles, and others were drawing from it. Unfortunately, they never learned to cultivate their own internal energy. They became accustomed to relying on you without acknowledging their dependence. Your departure is akin to shutting down the central generator. Suddenly, their motivation falters, their outlook darkens, and even minor challenges seem insurmountable. They miss more than just your presence. They yearn for the spark you ignited, the unwavering belief that things could improve. Without it, they are forced to confront the truth. Their energy was never self-generated, it was borrowed from you. The silence that follows your absence extends beyond the emotional realm. It affects the mental and spiritual. They feel sluggish, burdened, and uncertain. It's not that they have lost their own power. It's that they never possessed much to begin with, and now there is nothing left to draw from. This is why your departure affects them so profoundly. You were more than just a pleasant companion. You were the driving force that sustained them, the hidden source that made life appear brighter. Now the lights are out and they lack the knowledge to restore them. Seventh, the intricate web you maintained collapses in the absence of its weaver. Every individual, every relationship, every collaborative effort within that group was interconnected through you, consciously or unconsciously. You were the bridge between individuals who would not naturally interact, the mediator between conflicting personalities, and the central point where disparate threads converged. Others may have perceived themselves as connected, but in reality, those connections existed largely because of you. You were the spider at the heart of the web, silently holding the intricate structure together. Your presence facilitated seamless interactions. You streamlined communication, smoothed over missteps, and fostered opportunities for collaboration that would not have materialized otherwise. You identified gaps, tensions, and misunderstandings, resolving them before others even recognized the problems. People supported one another in ways that seemed natural, but your efforts were the binding force that created that impression. The problem is most individuals never recognize the architecture underpinning the harmony. They assume the relationships and collaborations are self-sustaining, when in reality they are fragile threads anchored entirely by you. Your departure causes those threads to snap. The group begins to realize that their connections were not as robust as they believed. Old conflicts resurface, minor disagreements escalate, and partnerships that seemed solid begin to dissolve. The absence of the spider you reveals a truth. The network never belonged to them, it was always centered around you. Without your stabilizing presence, everything begins to unravel. People scramble to maintain cohesion, but they fumble blindly because the structure was never designed to function without the central hub. The irony is profound. The individuals who exuded confidence and control now seem lost, frustrated, and confused, unable to comprehend why the harmony they depended on has vanished. They never appreciated the web while it was intact because they never recognized its intricacy, the effort required to maintain it, and the extent to which they relied on your skills to navigate it. Your departure is not just noticed, its effects are pervasive. Every failed conversation, every broken connection, every unsuccessful collaboration can be traced back to the individual they underestimated you. Eighth, the tranquility they experienced was borrowed from you. Individuals assume that everything felt calm and balanced, because that's simply the natural state of affairs. They never understood that the tranquility they enjoyed was entirely borrowed from you. You were the one who absorbed the tension that no one else wanted to confront, carried the unspoken burdens that everyone silently ignored, and created a sense of security that made the environment feel manageable. Your mere presence served as a shield against conflict, stress, and uncertainty. You sought no recognition, and you never publicized your efforts, which led them to believe that the peace was inherent rather than maintained. You managed the drama, the grudges, and the hidden anxieties that threatened to erupt at any moment, all while projecting a steady energy that everyone mistook for normalcy. The calm they perceived was not genuine. It was carefully sustained by your unwavering dedication, patience, and understanding. Your departure shatters the illusion immediately. The atmosphere shifts imperceptibly at first, but soon becoming undeniable. Conversations that once felt relaxed begin to carry an undercurrent of tension. Minor irritations that were previously overlooked ignite into arguments. Individuals who seemed secure and content suddenly feel unsettled. They discover often too late that the equilibrium they depended on was not a shared creation. It was solely your responsibility. The irony is biting. The same individuals who believed the calm was automatic are now forced to confront the fact that without you, the environment is unstable. They were not building their own foundations. They were relying entirely on yours. Now, with you gone, they must face not only the chaos, but also their inability to manage it. Your presence served as the hidden thermostat, regulating the emotional temperature and keeping things tolerable. Without it, everything feels harsher, colder, and more volatile. People scramble, relationships suffer, and the carefully balanced atmosphere you created collapses under its own weight. They finally see what they have been missing all along. The tranquility they took for granted was never their own to claim. Ninth, your departure forces everyone to confront their own weight. Your departure disrupts the balance, compelling everyone to shoulder burdens they've long avoided. For years, they delegated pressure decisions and unpleasant tasks to you, relying on your strength as a perpetual safety net. Now, without your support, they grapple with their own weight, a burden they've never learned to manage. Tasks once deemed simple become overwhelming. Long-avoided decisions now demand immediate attention. The emotional labor, guidance, and structure you provided vanish, exposing their unpreparedness. Cracks form as projects stall, relationships strain, and frustration mounts. They confront their character and ability deficiencies. For years, you transformed the impossible into the manageable, but your absence unveils their lack of resilience, discipline, and foresight. So, kindred spirits, let's recap. Remember that quiet strength you possess, that often unseen influence you wield. It's about recognizing the profound impact you have on the spaces and relationships you inhabit, especially when you decide to step back. You may not always get the acknowledgement you deserve, but your absence truly speaks volumes about the stability, harmony, and even the hidden energy you brought to the table. It's a reminder that your well-being matters, and sometimes releasing that grip is the most powerful thing you can do. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like the linchpin? Or perhaps you've witnessed this dynamic play out in your own life? Leave a comment below, ask a question, or just share your experiences. Let's get the conversation going. And if this resonated with you, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future explorations of human connection, hidden dynamics, and the power within you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here.